Hello, dear all. English Without Borders welcomes all of you to our series of English Without Borders Thursday webinars. And right now, at 6 p.m. Tajikistan time, lots of our followers are joining us via Facebook and Zoom. And today we are hosting Khayriniso Gulomaidarova, who will talk about the use of situational presentation in teaching English. Khayriniso graduated from Khorog State University with a diploma in English. She earned her master's in sociology from Osmania University in Hyderabad, India. Khayriniso's first teaching experience started in 2002 at secondary school number 1 in Khorog. In 2010, she joined the School of Professional and Continuing Education of the University of Central Asia. Up to now, she has been involved in different English programs, teaching in the conversational English programs, academic achievement program, and postgraduate preparatory course. From 2014 to 2017, Khayriniso worked as an expatriate English teacher at SPCA, learning centers in Badakhshan province, Afghanistan, where she delivered professional development workshops for young English teachers. Did co-teaching, helped the teachers with designing lesson plans, and conducted speaking clubs for English teachers and English learners. Khayriniso was a presenter at a CATEC conference in 2013 with the topic Critical Thinking Through Sounds. Khayriniso is a recipient of 3 Cambridge English certificates: the Teaching Knowledge Test, TKT, Cambridge Assessment Test, CAT, and Preliminary English Test, PET. And recently, she completed Media Literacy course. So we welcome Khayriniso Gulomaidarova, and let's give the floor to her. And please, dear followers, feel free. If you have any question, please use the chat box to ask your question. Thank you so much. Please, Khayriniso, the floor is yours. So Khayriniso, can you unmute yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much, Gulnoro. So hello everyone. I'm so happy to see you again, and I would like to share my presentation, my experience with you. So I hope it would be kind of interesting for you, and also you would enjoy a lot, and you would also learn something from my presentation, and you can teach it to some other people. Okay, so let me share my screen with you. Can you hear that? Can you see that?
Yes, we can see that. Yeah.
Okay, so this is situation. Today I'm going to to present you a new technique. Maybe for some, it is not new, but it was. But actually, maybe some people didn't know the name of that, or they didn't practice that. So this is called situational presentation. So before starting our session, I would like to have to discuss these questions. Just a minute. Okay, so can you please go through this question and discuss them and share your ideas with me? So the first question is, how do you usually teach grammar? What makes it difficult or interesting or boring? And are there any ways to make your grammar explanation easier or more interesting and effective for your students? So can you please just share your experiences with me? And okay, so Gulnoro is writing that she usually use deductive and inductive way of teaching grammar. So what do you think? It is deductive or inductive?
So sometimes it depends. For example, sometimes I use deductive way and sometimes I use inductive way. So that means that, for example, sometimes I elicit from the students whatever they know, and then they work the rule themselves. They work out the rule themselves, and then through this way, I bring them to the new presentation of the grammar. And sometimes I use, for example, it depends. Sometimes I start teaching by putting the rules on the board, like explaining the rules, and then we practice. And sometimes different, it deductive and inductive ways.
Okay, very good, thank you. So elicit, sometimes people somebody is writing elicit the form from students and use grammar games. Okay, very good, a very good way. Yes. Firuz is writing like it is easier to explain step by step and better if you use some diagrams and after of course with the exercise. Okay, so diagrams, you mean timelines or what? Okay. Okay, Firuz. Okay, maybe timelines, yes?
Yeah, I think timelines is also
okay. Yes. Okay, very good.
Well, yes.
Okay, very good. So so this is, thank you for sharing your experiences with me. And so and are there any ways to make grammar explanation easier? Okay, Firuz has already mentioned like step by step. So what do you think? How to make it more interesting or effective? First, interesting for your students or in an easy way, because we know that not all in the class, not all the students are the same in the same level in one group, and sometimes for some people, for some students, it's really difficult. So how, for example, we teachers, what should we do in order to make it easier for them? Okay, to practice more. So to practice the grammar. So you mean to practice more? Okay. Interesting for me means shouldn't be difficult, better with some activities. Very good. Yes. So it's better to start with any activities. Okay. Good. Very good. Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much for these answers. So let's move on. So, now, can I ask you to look at this slide? Okay, so this is the peak. This picture is like this is all about me. So can you just look at the pictures, and there are some bubbles. So these are prompts, and I have worked a lot, and I'm so tired. If you look at my picture. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, I think so.
Okay. So if you look at my picture, you may, it seems like I'm very stressed and I'm tired. So I want to have some relax. So I can't concentrate on my work these days. So what should I do for that? If I take 2 weeks holiday, what do you think? What will happen? And I just leave you with this picture. Can you, for example, just look at the picture, what comes to your mind, and what do you think each picture does have to do with me, with my situation? Give you just 3 minutes. Mhm. Okay. So Mavluda is writing like, go on business trip. Okay, very good. Mhm. So if my friends go with me, I will buy them fried potatoes. Okay, very good. Mm-hmm. Okay, the question here, I can't concentrate on my work, so what should I do with that? And if I take 2 weeks holiday, what will happen? If my friends go with me with me on holiday, what will happen? What do you think? And if I take my sunscreen, what will happen? And what about, is it okay for me to take my camera? And what do you think about spending my time spending my holiday in the nature? So what will happen? What do you think? Okay. Munavar is writing, planning to have a trip, but there is some conditions. Maybe get information from students if they're familiar with this structure you are presenting. Maybe get information from students if they are familiar. Okay, so this is the previous one. So that will be amazing. If my friends go with me, I will relax more. If I take 2 weeks holiday, I will rest and come back with the fresh ideas. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Sure. Oh, okay. So let's just discuss it together. Thank you for your sentences that you have written. What will happen if I take 2 weeks holiday? So is it possible for me to take a holiday? What do you think? Yes? Yes, it is possible for me to take a holiday. And if I spend my holiday in the nature, I think I would enjoy my time. I would enjoy the beauty of the nature. And if I take my camera, for sure I can take a lot of pictures. Yes. And if my friends go with me to my holiday, it would be I will be very happy. And why should I take this sunscreen in order not to get sunburned? Yes. So this is what do these all pictures to do with my all these things to do with my picture. So now what we have produced from this picture. Oh, what's wrong with that? Okay, so these are the examples that are just elicited from you as a student. For example, if I take a holiday, it will reduce my stress. If I go with my friends, I will have a good time. If I use sunscreen, I will not get tanned. If I stay in the nature, I will be able to enjoy the beauty. And if I have my camera, I will take a lot of pictures. Okay. So what do you think? What do all these sentences talk about? All these situations, all these statements, what do they talk about? Okay. Yes, they are. Okay. So all, yes, thank you for your answers. All of them are talking about, yes, something is possible to happen in future, or all of these situations are talking about possibilities. Okay. Next, this is like, does it talk about something that is possible to happen in the past or in future? Of course, it talks about the present and future. Something is possible to happen in present or in future. So the question that you would ask your students, for example, you elicit from them, am I on holiday? Not yet. Is it possible for me to take a holiday? Yes. Am I stressed now? Yes. Is it possible that these activities reduce my stress? Yes. So these are all questions that these are all concept check questions that you can ask your students. So this was this is the form. Let's deal with the form. The examples are, if I take a holiday, it will reduce my stress. Or if I go with my friends, I will have a good time. So what grammar does this refer to? Of course, you already mentioned, like, this is first conditional. We are talking about conditional. And how many clauses are there? And what comes after each clause? Of course, it is if clause plus verb that follow verb or present in present tense, and main clause that will plus infinitive, or we can just say verb. So this is what how do we elicit the meaning and the form of any target language. So this was a situational presentation. This was a kind of task before I could present you my presentation. Now, what is situational presentation? It is considered to be one of the method of presentation, practice, and production. And what does a teacher do in this? How does he deal with this method? A teacher presents or introduces, explains, clarifies, or improves the language that is the aim of the lesson. So a teacher should design a text or a context that refers to the aim of the lesson. And also it should be something like fun or interesting for the students. So, of course, if you teach this if you teach with this kind of method, there are sequences, there are stages you have to follow. So the first one, it is lead-in, where you provide a photo, or you just cut this photo into pieces, or just draw a picture. If you are very good at drawing pictures, for example, you draw them on the board and you just add some things around this person or this character. And then you invite students to make statements about him. And why should you do this? It motivates students to participate in the lesson. And also it stimulates discussion and stirs students' imagination. Also, students think, what do the images have to do with the character? And then they share first ideas with each other and then with the whole class. And you can do it maybe on the slides or on the board, usually, for example, from my own experience, I usually use situational presentation for teaching present simple tense. And what I do in lead-in, for example, I just stick things. I stick the things on the flip chart. If, for example, you think that you are not good at drawing, for example. So the next stage, it is the situation. For example, I just provided you situation about myself. And you also can, for example, if you provide them photos or you draw these pictures, they are already the context. And the students can see this context, this scenario, and they create, and then it is your task, a teacher's task, to create a smooth transition from a lead-in. Like you can ask them question, or you can elicit from them, and student looking at the pictures, they infer the target language from the situation. So this is the second stage of that. The next stage, it is clarification of meaning. As I did with meaning, for example, what do they talk about, or do all these situations talk about? And then you said that it is possibility, yes, the first conditional. The same thing in here is that, like, clarification of meaning is IMPF. IMPF meaning, pronunciation and form. It conveys and checks, it starts with conveying and checking the meaning of target language, and then it continues clarification of form and pronunciation. Like you have to elicit the meaning from the sentences, and then the form of that, and for example, what grammar point is that, and then the pronunciation if it is required. And next, what is in clarification of meaning, like the most important thing is to use CCQs, concept check questions. They are very important because they help you to elicit something from your students. Otherwise, without them, it wouldn't be possible to teach this way. And then after you elicit it from them, and after that you have put all their thoughts on the board, You can use drilling, like you ask them to repeat individually or chorally. Of course, first chorally and then to individual. And this is for teaching pronunciation. For example, the short form, how to pronounce the short form, and if it is required again. So this is the third stage of this of situational presentation. And next, next it is restricted practice. And as we usually call it, it is controlled practice. This is an activity that is designed by the teacher to check if students can use the target language accurately in a given task. For example, there can be get sentences or matching sentences with a picture or with their opposite meanings, yes? So here, you check. Teacher's task is to monitor and to see if students got the grammar correctly or not, and make sure that they understood it, and make sure that they will not, for example, make mistakes on that in that stage. And the last one, it is freer practice, where students produce their own context or scenario in the productive way. For example, speaking and writing, where they focus on fluency and accuracy. So what I usually do in free practice, I provide them more pictures, and I ask them to produce any product, any context using the target language. And there they focus, as I mentioned, the focus will be on fluency and accuracy. And then they practice. And of course, you have to give more time for practice, maybe about 30 minutes for free practice. So this was all about the sequences of this situational presentation. So why we should use it? What is the advantage of using this way? So it is a way that can increase learning enthusiasm through watching and listening and speaking. And for example, straight away when you provide a context for your students, they just look at that. It should be interesting for them, and when you are, for example, eliciting the questions, they listen to you, and then at the same time they speak with you. This is, of course, mostly it is teacher-centered, but it's up to teachers. If you want your class would be in a student-centered, you can just smoothly transfer to that stage. For example, you can ask, you just elicit, and you ask them, you just motivate them to speak. And another advantage it is students can apply their critical thinking. Of course, when they look at the pictures, it makes them think a lot. When they look at the prompts, it gives them an idea. For example, the start is there and they can end it. And even if they don't know the target language properly. And students will, another thing is that students will be able to respond quickly and to accurately use the target language in their speech with the structure and sentence patterns. And if you are sure that your student know a little bit about, for example, first conditional, you don't need to write the prompts. But if you think that the students are weak, and then some students in the group are not will not be able to understand, you can just write these prompts. So, and students focus on the target language and can cooperate with each other. So this was the advantages of using situational presentation in your lesson. Okay. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, you are welcome.
So I have one question. So this is the nice. I usually use the PPP practice, present, practice, and production. Like, could you please tell us which part of this, for example, presentation, practice, or production, the teacher should pay more attention and spend more time in presentation part, in practice part, or in production part?
So, like, in which stage should
the teacher should take more time, for example, to take more time on presenting, or in practicing, or in producing part?
Okay, as I already mentioned, of course, in producing part, like in free practice, time should be given more. But in presentation time, in order to clarify the meaning of the form, it also takes time, because you, in this stage, you make sure that after that, you make sure that students are already understood the grammar point, and they are able to use them in their speech. So I think in these two, in presentation and in production, in free practice.
Thank you, Khayriniso.
You are welcome.
Yeah, dear audience, if you have any questions, please feel free to turn on your camera, to unmute yourself, and to ask the question, or you can write your questions in the chat box.
So,
there's one question. How often do you use this approach? Someone wrote.
So as I already mentioned, like I use this approach sometimes with elementary level group, like I have experience in teaching using situational presentation in teaching present simple. So I use it sometimes. And also, it is also like situational presentation is, I use it with teaching, for pre-teaching vocabulary, like in any reading or listening.
Okay, and there is another question. It says that, what challenges can we face to apply it the first time?
Of course, the challenges are always there. So you have to anticipate the problems, like when, for example, if there is something to do with eliciting the form, the meaning, no, not meaning, but the pronunciation. Yes, as it is not like most of the students, for most of the students, like it would be very difficult if you elicit from them the pronunciation. So this is the only challenges. And also, like the challenge is that they still don't, and they don't know the grammar, but you just make your student to work on that. Okay, so this is a little bit difficult for the first time, but it needs more practice.
Okay. So Bakhti Begim wrote that while eliciting, do you correct their grammar mistakes? Some students face difficulties in applying the correct form of the grammar.
Of course, like while I'm eliciting, I just write, for example, sentences that whatever I've elicited from them, I just put it on the board, and then I write it, and then I just mark it with different markers, like so that they can understand like which sentence is correct and which one is not correct. And then again, I ask them CCQ questions, concept check questions, which make it more understandable for them.
Okay, great. And Khayriniso, I would like to ask one more question. So what kind of teaching grammar methods do you use? Do you first teach the grammar rule and then ask the pupils to practice it? Or do you first elicit from them most of the time and then give a practice and then you explain the rule?
Okay, as I observed myself, I usually provide a context in any situation, whether it is grammar, whether it is listening, whether it is reading. I always provide a context for them. And for example, the context can be ready-made, like for example, it can be the reading itself, and I give them reading, and then I just ask them to focus on the maybe highlighted words, maybe highlighted grammar, and then I take them, I elicit again from them, and I ask CCQ questions, and then put the words or put the sentences or the statements on the board. And after that, I can start my presentation. First, I elicit from them.
Okay, good. There is another question from Fernando. He asks, what are some advantages of using inductive grammar? Advantages of using inductive grammar.
Okay, as I already mentioned, it helps students it gives students a chance to practice the language or the grammar point first himself, and then you will teach him. This is and also it is very beneficial, or it gives a lot of advantages to practicing applying their critical thinking, and it makes them to discuss something with each other or to share their ideas with each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And a question from Mauluda, what assessment tool do you use to make sure that everyone got the material?
Material
Yeah.
for what? What assessment tool? Okay. So I will ask questions maybe by the hand. So after, for example, after they have done, for example, they come to the production stage, like after free practice, I will ask some questions to make sure that everyone understood the grammar point that I have taught them. So the questions, or maybe some games, it depends, like the games, activities, or questions, or I just ask them, for example, to ask each other questions related to the grammar point that they have learned.
Yeah, thank you. And again, we have a question from Bakhti Begim. She asks, is it possible to integrate 4 skills in teaching language using this method?
Of course, it is possible. Like mostly they practice mostly it can you can integrate these 4 skills because they can listen to you, and they can write something, they can think, and they can read. So it is possible to integrate these 4 skills. And mostly it is with writing and teaching. Yes, Gulnoro?
Yes, please. Yeah, Bakhti Begin, thanks you for for the answer to the question. Thank you so much. Yes, if you have any other question, please use the chance to ask your question. Maybe unmute yourself, ask the question directly, or using the chat box, please. Yeah. Yeah, the presentation is really attractive and it is very useful. And we have another question from Aududa. Do you always use the same strategies to teach situational presentation, or you change something?
As I mentioned already, like not always, I sometimes do that. But for teaching vocabulary, I think I can use this. For example, I draw something on the board as I draw something, or I provide slides with the images. And yes, for grammar points, like I sometimes can use it.
Yeah, and also a question from Mihrangiz. Could you please share with us some websites to teachers? Maybe she means some websites that helps teachers to teach grammar. Maybe regarding the topic for today.
Okay, like where did I get this idea? Like I go through the book, like Jim Scrivener. If, for example, just write on the Google like the name of Jim Scrivener, you can find like this book, and that is teaching grammar. And you can, for example, get this idea, or you can read about that.
Okay, good. Great. Yes. And Farida says that it was really understandable presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really understandable. And from Bakhti Begin, we have one more questions. Are there any simple methods to present grammar?
Okay. Are there any simple methods
to present grammar?
Okay. So far, I like this way. I think that this is one of the it is the simplest one. But sometimes what I do, for example, I just straight away write sentences on the board, and I can start my presentation with them like through eliciting. Eliciting and CCQs always helps you like to make your explanation, grammar explanation easier.
Yes, I do agree, Khayriniso, because yeah, that's a great way. For example, first you elicit from the students, they work out the grammar rule themselves, and this way, like step by step, they come to the topic, and then the teacher gives the grammar explanation, and they will understand it better because they first worked out the rules themselves, and it works a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, any other question? Yeah, from Mavluda. How did students find this approach?
I think it is interesting for them, first of all. And next, it is like, it makes them to be engaged in the task. And they themselves feel like that, like for example, after using this technique in my class or this method in my class, they usually tell me by the end of the class, like, teacher, today we didn't notice the time. Today, the time passed quickly. So I think they found it interesting and effective as well.
What is your favorite exercise in teaching English grammar that works for all ages of learners?
My favorite?
Yes, favorite exercise in teaching English grammar that works for all ages of learners.
Favorite exercise?
Yes, favorite exercise in teaching English grammar.
Okay. My favorite can be, for example, it can be any game. I don't remember exactly which one. Any activity, for example, that works for all. Of course, you can do any activity, like any game with any kind of, with all ages of learners. So I can't remember exactly which one is my favorite, but for example, I can ask them, for example, to look around themselves, if it is something to do, if it is something like to do with there is and there are. And they straight away, for example, look around, what do they have in the class? And then I elicit the answers from them, and again I, for example, write the sentences on the board. Okay, I think I didn't. This is my answer to your questions. If I got your answer, if I give you the right answer.
So there is another question. Like, have you any difficult students? Do you have any difficult students?
Yes, right now I don't have, but I do remember. For example, I used to teach in different culture, and as I already shared with some of my colleagues, like I worked in Afghanistan, and I used like I used to teach them. And there were a lot of, for example, there are a lot of students that they were not happy with the teamwork, where I, for example, where I asked students like to mingle around. And some of my students, like difficult students, like they didn't like this kind of method. This is but in my place, I think there are some students, but we already, maybe this is the experience, already got used to them.
And there is another question from me. Does it happen anytime in your classes, for example, a student doesn't know, for example, his own grammar, his own language grammar, and then it would and he find, for example, the second language, like as English, difficult. For example, however you try, he doesn't get that. And if you had some such kind of student, how did you struggle with that? For example, he doesn't know one language well, and then he has he's surviving, like he can't like understand the second language better because of the lack of the grammar of his own language. How did you struggle with that?
Okay, there are a lot of students like that. For example, usually they come from the remote places, and it is really difficult, for example, for beginners, yes, to teach them the language. And usually I do, for example, I use the pictures and phrases, and I just provide them prompts to use and pictures, and then, for example, even if it doesn't work with elicitation, I just write, for example, I show the pictures and just put the name of these things on the board. So this is how I deal with them. It usually happens in lower grades, yes, but not, for example, so far I haven't noticed that in any eye level, but in lower grades, for example. And of course, we can, if they don't understand, if they don't understand their own language, the rules in their own language, for example, I can just switch to my own language to, for example, to provide them a situation in my own language so that they can understand.
Yeah, thank you, Khayriniso. And there is another question from Bakhti Begim. How do you deal with students who have low average of vocabulary?
How to deal with the students, like to teach them grammar or what?
Like how do you deal with students who have low average of vocabulary? Yes, I think she means that. How do you teach? Yes, how do you deal with the students who have low average of vocabulary when you maybe explain grammar in English? Because of lack of vocabulary.
So of course we ask them to learn by heart a lot of words. Maybe like I ask them in every day, for example, I give them certain words, for example, about 10. Every day I ask them to learn them by heart, and they just, when they come to the class, I make any, for example, any activity with these verbs in order to check. For example, mingling, like they just need to find their partners, for example, with the verbs, with the words or their meaning, with their definitions. So this really expands their, for example, their vocabulary. And also, after teaching any vocabulary, again, by the end of the class, again, I just remind them, and I just ask them again these words.
Okay. Yes. Great. Thank you, Khayriniso. And dear participants, if you have any other questions, please write in the chat box. Because we have a very good presenter, Khayriniso. Yes, and we have learned a lot today. And that was amazing webinar. So this is what the teachers need. And we have learned a lot, and I want also to thank our followers who joined today and who spent time with us. And thank you, Khayriniso, for your amazing webinar. And we hope that we will have some more interesting presentation and webinars with you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, dear audience, for your time too. Everyone is thanking you.
Thank you so much that you have time and you have listened to me.
Yeah, we have got lots of information, lots of new and useful information, of course. Thank you very much. Yes, and our time has also it is time to say goodbye. Thank you, dear all, and Khayriniso one more time for your amazing webinar. Yeah, thank you very much.
Bye. See you.
Bye. See you.
Have a nice time.
Thank you.